Okay, so I'm back, you guys. Thank you for watching my videos. And this is me, going into the role of the communicator, because that's one of the roles I play, to share with you the things, the revelations, the realizations, really realizing that even when I did all that studying, I was just studying to find out if there was something I didn't already know. Because as I was studying, the more quiet my mind became, the more I remembered. I used to say it was a dumping, it was coming from outside. I don't think that anymore. Now I realize that it was actually already there, and all I was doing was remembering it. And all I was doing was removing these veils that were embedded inside of self that blocked out those revelations of truth. The truth was already inside of me. Someone told me that you once was a caterpillar. I really never was ever a caterpillar. I always knew I was free. I always had a different perception of self than I think the average person did, which to an extent made me an outcast. And I still feel like an outsider to normal society. But, I used to think back in the day that something was wrong with me. Because if everybody else is like this and I'm like this, then they're right and I'm wrong. Now I realize that they can be right for themselves and I can be right for myself. My perception of self, once you have a clear perception of self and you love self and you accept self, it is so much easier to love others. And it's so funny because I kept seeing this phrase in my studying that loving self is loving others because we're all connected. And I was so focused on service to others because I felt like service to self was selfish, and now I'm realizing that loving self is nothing selfish about that. Loving self is loving others, because once you get that light turned on in yourself, or you love and accept yourself, you can easily accept others. Others won't bother you as much as they used to. And you realize that there's no separation between the two of you. And another thing is, once you love self, you can protect self. You can develop the wisdom to let people be ignorant. And instead of you getting upset that they don't get you, as long as you get you, you can love them anyway. When I left church, it took me a long time to make that decision. It wasn't something I made lightly because there were so many children at my church that I was involved with. And, I still feel bad to this day that I left them because a lot of them left the church. But I knew that I wasn't being true to self. And before I could help those children, I had to be true to self. Then I went through the whole, spiritual crisis, wilderness experience, and realized that I knew where I was going, but I just couldn't articulate it to somebody else. Like, I knew what I had to do for self, but I couldn't explain it to somebody else. And basically it boils down to, it could be right for somebody else. It just wasn't right for me. Bottom freaking line. There's no big to do about it. It just wasn't right for me. It wasn't the right atmosphere for myself to grow spiritually. It just wasn't. I'm not saying it would not be for someone else. So now it's a simple answer. I don't have to get defensive. I don't have to get upset when somebody doesn't accept that. I don't have to get defensive. I do worry. I don't even say worry. I do have a concern for others because I do want them to experience the same freedom that I want. I do want that I have. I do want them to realize that once they realize it's a game, then the rules no longer apply to them. Once you realize, okay, you're dribbling up and down the court playing a basketball game, right? You're dribbling, shooting, dribbling, rebounding, catching it. You're playing this whole game and you're suffering in the game. You're sweating. You're tired. Once you're just hustling, hustle. Try to get the ball. Try to slam it down. You're doing all of this, right? You don't even realize that you playing this damn basketball game. Because you so far in it, and it's the only thing you've ever played. It's the only thing you know is you define yourself as a forward or a guard or, whatever. You define yourself as that. So that's all you know to do. First of all, look around you. Look at the other people playing on the court. Once your perception begins to stop being distracted and you begin to look around and actually pay attention to what you're seeing, because there are atheists who honestly just don't pay attention to the signs. It's not that they don't get the signs. They just don't pay attention to them. There's people that can write something off because they don't understand it. For instance, Stephen Hawking feels like there's no afterlife, there's no God that created the universe, there's nothing. Because he writes it off. Possibly because he fears his own mortality. So it's like, oh, well, if I'm going to die, all y'all going to die. There's nothing to it. Possibly. I'm not saying I know what's in the man's brain. But it keeps you in a box. So once I realized that I was playing this game and I was a basketball player, it's just a game. It's just a freaking game. Hold on, time out. I'm blowing a whistle. Now I'm the coach. Now I'm the referee. Now I'm the other players. See, once I realized it was a game, then my basketball stadium became mine. I became the owner of the team. The rules of you just have to be a player no longer applied to me because I realized it was a game. There are no rules. It's just a freaking game. If you lock yourself into the rules of the game based on how other people play their game, whereas what are the rules of basketball? You can't double dribble. You can't, you have to pass the ball after you stop twice. All those rules. This is a 3-point line. This is a free throw. This is a foul. You locked yourself into those rules because everybody else played by those rules. Oh, everybody fouls. Everybody has rebounds. You identify with all the nouns of the game, all the verbs, all the phrases. You identified yourself with that. Once you realize that it's just a game and you're actually the one that has control over the game, you can be any part of the game you want to be. You could double dribble. You could run up to the ball and dunk it and just run down. You can just play on the court by yourself. You can do whatever you want to do because it's your game. That's your basketball stadium. But since you was looking at all the other people who play the same game, you think, okay, I'm sharing a basketball stadium with them, so I got to follow the rules that they follow. Well, how do you like to play the game? Sometimes I like to run up and dunk the ball and sometimes I like to call a timeout and sit down on the bench and drink me a fucking glass of water. What's that rule? How many timeouts? You got limited timeouts? I don't have limited timeouts. I have unlimited timeouts in my game. If I need to sit my ass down because I'm tired, I'm going to sit my ass down. Do you understand what I'm saying? If that's what you need to do, it's a freaking game. You can do it. Sit your ass down on the bench and take a motherfucking breather. You about to exhaust yourself trying to keep up with the rules of the game. Because the crazy part is your ego is based on your perception, which kind of got projected towards you. What's your perception of a tree? How do you know it's called a tree? Because somebody else told you it was called a tree. What's your perception of going to work? How do you, making money? These are all conditions. Once you accept that these are conditions, these are some rules. Now, you have a choice in every single rule. But some rules are just kind of, we all identify that we got to do. Get up, go to work, take care of your family, take care of yourself. These are some rules that you can accept. Okay, yeah, I can go with that rule because I would rather not be homeless, living on the street and eating out of a garbage can. So I'm going to get my ass up and go to work. I'm going to follow that rule, but realize that's a choice. Still realize that's a choice. You can choose to be out on the street because I choose not to do that. You can choose to go live in a fucking forest and live off of the roots and the nuts and the berries if you want to. It's all about your choice. And sometimes the choices are more easily persuaded by what everybody else is doing. Okay, fine. I wear shoes because everybody else is wearing shoes and I'm going to abide by the law. But you still got to realize there's a choice. The things that you can control, especially how you feel about yourself. and what you want for yourself, how you think about yourself. Most people think that's just, it's kind of just popped up. So hard for people to change once they get something stuck in their head. It's a belief now. Oh, it's so hard to change a belief. Because a belief, you told yourself the belief over and over and over and over and over. This is how it is. 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 Now you got stuck into, like, for instance, the people that don't believe in bisexuality. They only believe a gay or straight. Me personally, I believe that sex is fluid. You know, because I told myself that over and over again based on the evidence that got projected towards me. Do you understand what I'm saying? My perception. Now, in reality, everything is theory. Which leads me to my next video. Everything is theory. Keep watching. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for subscribing.